humble woman ridiculed by the pretentious upper class, only for them to realize she possesses wealth far beyond their own. They noticed her simple beige dress among their extravagant gowns, caught snippets of their murmurs about her poverty, yet they could never have anticipated the wealth hidden beneath her unassuming exterior or the valuable lesson that awaited them. The crystal chandeliers of the Hawthorne Ballroom illuminated Boston's most exclusive charity gala with a warm, golden light. Women in exquisite gowns embellished with diamonds moved gracefully over polished marble, as men in finely tailored tuxedos engaged in casual conversation that cleverly masked the exchange of business cards. Catherine Winters delicately adjusted her sapphire necklace, the blue stones harmonizing beautifully with her elegant dress. Next to her, Eleanor Madison adjusted her sleek black designer gown, while Patricia Reynolds radiated in her navy blue outfit adorned with silver highlights. The embodiment of Boston's social elite, Catherine remarked, casting a critical eye over the room. The new hospital wing had better be named after someone truly deserving this time. The donors from last year were barely recognized. With a shared understanding, the women acknowledged one another, just as a newcomer stepped into the ballroom. Emma Sullivan stood in a simple beige dress, modest and unadorned, painfully plain against the backdrop of the surrounding couture. No bold accessories, no high-end handbag. Her auburn hair was elegantly styled, and her makeup was understated. Who extended the invitation to her? Patricia murmured, her voice unrestrained. And in that gown, it seems she's attending a job interview rather than a high-priced charity gala. Emma glided through the throng with a serene assurance. At 34, she moved through life with an effortless elegance that needed no adornment. She took a moment to examine the architectural renderings of the Children's Hospital expansion. This evening's purpose, her gaze attuned to nuances that escaped the notice of others. Unbeknownst to the socialites, Emma had dedicated her morning to exploring the hospital's pediatric ward, familiarizing herself with the names of the young patients. She made a heartfelt promise to a little girl battling leukemia that the new wing would feature windows overlooking the garden, where butterflies would gather come spring. A promise Emma was certain would be fulfilled. A refined voice interjected beside Emma. "I don't believe we've had the pleasure of meeting." Catherine Winters reached out, her diamond bracelet sparkling in the light. Catherine Winters, chair of the hospital board's fundraising efforts. Emma turned, presenting a sincere smile. "Emma Sullivan, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance." Catherine's smile stayed in place while her gaze scrutinized Emma's outfit, looking for a designer tag, but discovering none. "What brings you to our humble gathering this evening? Are you part of the medical team?" "No," Emma replied, her voice steady. "I'm deeply committed to the well-being of children in the realm of healthcare." Eleanor and Patricia glided nearer, moving in a graceful dance reminiscent of finely attired predators. Eleanor remarked that new faces are a rare sight at these events. Champagne flute held gracefully, with perfectly manicured fingers. The Hawthorne Gala tends to be rather selective. Emma gave a slight nod. The invitation referred to the pediatric oncology wing. "This cause resonates deeply with me." Patricia shot a fleeting look at Catherine, her eyebrows arching in silent communication. "Indeed, every little bit counts, I guess, although the donors this evening are primarily in the 6- and 7-figure brackets." "It makes sense," Emma concurred with a smile. Catherine's gaze sharpened just a bit. The confidence of this unassuming woman had an unsettling effect on her. "Your dress," she began, her voice laced with insincere sympathy. "Is it from a bygone era?" The inquiry lingered, suspended in the atmosphere. Its true essence is clear. Eleanor struggled to hide a sly grin as she raised her champagne glass. "Just straightforward," Emma responded, unfazed. "Elaborate designs tend to pull my focus away." "How practical," Catherine replied, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "It is essential that we make your acquaintance with Montgomery Wells. He was our top contributor from the previous year. $5 million allocated for the emergency department. Monty enjoys connecting with ordinary individuals." Emma's eyes shimmered with a serene understanding. "I would find that delightful." As they led Emma through the ballroom, Catherine discreetly communicated with others in their group, casting an eye roll when Emma's gaze was elsewhere. Soft murmurs trailed behind them. Who was responsible for bringing the secretary? Is that dress from a retail store? Such a sad situation. It's evident that she is out of place here. Dr. James Harris, the hospital's chief of pediatrics, approached their group with a friendly demeanor. It's a pleasure to be in your company once more. His eyes sparkled at the sight of Emma. Miss Sullivan, I wasn't aware you would be present this evening. Catherine's flawless eyebrows arched in astonishment. Are you two acquainted? Before Emma had a chance to reply, Dr. Harris pressed on with great enthusiasm. Miss Sullivan graced our pediatric ward with her presence this morning, dedicating hours to the children. Little Sophie can't stop chattering about the butterfly garden you promised her. Catherine's smile grew strained. What a generous spirit. However, Dr. Harris, Miss Sullivan was on the verge of joining us for the meeting with Montgomery Wells. Monty's currently in conversation with the mayor, Dr. Harris responded. It would be interesting to hear Miss Sullivan's perspective on the new wing design. As we pause, her insights could prove to be quite beneficial. Patricia let out a melodious laugh that sparkled like silver. James, my dear, I have no doubt that Miss Sullivan is far more captivated by the canapés than the construction plans. This is quite intricate, after all. Emma held her tongue, her face revealing no hint of her thoughts. Actually, Dr. Harris replied, his tone becoming a bit more reserved. Miss Sullivan posed some remarkably insightful questions regarding our pediatric care protocols this morning. I would appreciate her perspective. Catherine seamlessly stepped in. James, let's not put too much pressure on our guest. For those who are new, these events can feel quite daunting. She faced Emma with a well-rehearsed air of superiority. The donor circle functions in a manner distinct from that of typical hospital visitors. It's quite intricate, really. Across the room, the hospital's executive director stepped up onto the small stage. Catherine's eyes sparkled with eager expectation. Friends, we are on the brink of unveiling our significant supporters for the new children's wing. She confided to her companions. This is our moment to dazzle, my dears. Emma cast a quick look at the stage before checking her watch. If you'll pardon me, I must take a brief leave. Catherine responded, her relief barely hidden. The restrooms are located down the hall to the left, although I'm uncertain how much assistance they can provide regarding that dress. As Emma strolled away, Patricia leaned closer. Oh my, Catherine. Where on earth did they discover her? She appears as though she just stepped out from a career expo. Catherine replied dismissively, suggesting that the hospital likely invited some ordinary heroes for the sake of publicity photos. You're familiar with the experience. Diversity should be reflected in their donor materials. The experiences of the working class create poignant narratives for brochures. Eleanor nodded with a sense of satisfaction. Did you notice her reaction when you brought up Montgomery's 5 million? I imagined her eyes would burst from their sockets. The women laughed, crystal glasses chiming like delicate wind chimes as they toasted in unity, blissfully ignorant of the impending tidal shift that would disrupt their meticulously structured social order. If you're captivated by this tale of appearances versus reality, go ahead and subscribe now. Let's proceed and discover the unfolding events as Emma's true identity comes to light. Emma quietly re-entered the ballroom at the moment Richard Thornton, the executive director of the hospital, tapped the microphone. The audience hushed, their accessories shimmering beneath the chandeliers, as Boston's high society focused intently on the stage. Esteemed guests, this evening signifies a momentous occasion for Boston Children's Hospital. Thornton commenced, his voice imbued with a practiced weightiness. The newly established pediatric oncology wing promises to transform the treatment landscape for our youngest cancer patients. Catherine and her group took their place conspicuously at the forefront. Champagne flutes filled anew, faces alight with anticipation. This marked the occasion when contributions were revealed, names etched in memory, and societal hierarchies solidified. Emma lingered silently at the rear, taking in the scene. Before we reveal our donor wall, Thornton continued, I would like to share something remarkable. In a remarkable turn of events, our hospital, with a legacy spanning 150 years, has been graced with an anonymous donation that has rendered our entire board utterly speechless. Whispers flowed among the gathering. While anonymous donations were not unusual, the director's tone hinted at something extraordinary. Catherine's brow furrowed ever so slightly. Unidentified benefactors disrupted her carefully crafted social equations. They were neither ranked nor impressed, nor could they be leveraged for future connections. Thornton announced that this individual has generously contributed $25 million for our pediatric oncology wing, stipulating that the new garden terrace be named Sophie's Butterfly Haven in honor of one of our young patients. Dr. Harris's eyes widened, his gaze swiftly scanning the room until it settled on Emma. Although we typically honor the confidentiality of our anonymous supporters, Thornton went on, this specific donor has graciously allowed us to recognize them this evening as they are here with us in this very space. Catherine's group adjusted subtly, each woman silently pondering whether her family might have quietly contributed such a donation without her awareness. Thornton elaborated on how our remarkable benefactor possesses a distinct insight into childhood illness. 2 decades prior, she was a patient in our hospital, confronting a struggle that no child ought to endure. Today, she persists in that struggle for the sake of others. The director surveyed the expanse of the ballroom. Miss Sullivan, might you kindly come up to the stage with me? The atmosphere shifted abruptly, descending into a hush before bursting into a flurry of bewildered murmurs. Catherine's champagne glass halted midway to her lips, her face a canvas of disbelief and horror. Another Sullivan has to be here, Patricia whispered in a panic. But Emma was already advancing, her unadorned beige dress slicing through the crowd of extravagant gowns like a modern-day Moses parting the Red Sea. The audience stood in awe, captivated by her graceful ascent up the stage steps, embodying a serene poise. Ladies and gentlemen, Thornton declared, his voice resonating above the murmurs. It is with great pleasure that I present Ms. Emma Sullivan, the visionary behind the Sullivan Foundation for Children's Medical Research and our primary supporter for the new oncology wing. Catherine's champagne flute almost tumbled from her grasp. Eleanor's mouth shaped into a flawless O of astonishment. Patricia grasped her pearls, searching for comfort in their unyielding presence. Ms. Sullivan's foundation has supported innovative pediatric cancer research nationwide, Thornton continued. The remarkable sum of $25 million she has personally contributed stands as the largest single donation ever recorded in our hospital's history. Emma approached the microphone, her modest dress transforming from a potential misstep into a thoughtful statement, a reflection on values and priorities that transformed Catherine's designer gown into something that felt overly extravagant. Thank you, Director Thornton, Emma began, her voice gentle yet resolute. At the age of 12, I endured a 9-month battle with leukemia in the hospital. The medical staff here didn't merely preserve my existence. They illuminated the essence of compassion in a profound way. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, as everyone leaned in, momentarily setting aside their social standings to catch a glimpse of the profound essence hidden beneath her modest facade. Today, I find myself in a fortunate position to contribute, Emma continued. The Sullivan Foundation was established with a clear purpose, to guarantee that every child, no matter their family's financial situation, has access to the same level of care that made a difference in my life. Dr. Harris radiated with unmistakable pride. Across the room, Catherine and her friends had turned ashen, their previous taunts echoing in their thoughts with a haunting precision. Sophie's Butterfly Haven will serve as a sanctuary of healing and hope, Emma articulated, her eyes shining with determination. Sometimes the tiniest creatures, be they butterflies or children, impart the most significant lessons about change and strength. As Emma stepped away from the microphone, the ballroom burst into a wave of applause. Director Thornton welcomed donors to explore the architectural plans for the new wing, and the audience pressed forward, many stealing inquisitive looks at the modest woman who was now unveiled as Boston's most prominent benefactor. Catherine stood motionless, her reality spinning out of control. The woman she had dismissed, mocked, and patronized just moments earlier was not merely affluent. She was an icon in charitable circles, with assets that overshadowed the Winters family wealth. Catherine inquired whether her dress had a vintage flair. As the crowd flowed toward the architectural displays, Emma discovered herself at the heart of a swirling sea of attention. Board members who had previously overlooked her now vied for her attention. Donors who once exchanged hushed remarks now radiated a feigned sense of closeness. Amidst the throng of people, Emma spotted Catherine and her companions engaged in a fervent discussion. Their looks directed at her were laced with a blend of embarrassment and scrutiny, the latter unsettling her far more than the former. Dr. Harris stood beside Emma, his gentle gaze softening with warmth. He confessed softly that he was eager to witness their reactions when the truth dawned on them. "Am I being unreasonable?" Emma's lips formed a soft, inviting smile. "This wasn't done for the sake of a reveal, James, though I must concede it does underscore a significant point. 25 million points, to be precise," he said with a laugh. Then, with greater gravity, "Sophie has been endlessly sharing her thoughts on her butterflies. You've bestowed upon her a cherished gift, a glimmer of hope intertwined with a timeline, a promise of brighter days ahead." Emma's demeanor relaxed at the reference to the young patient. Certain promises hold greater significance than the rest. Their dialogue came to a halt as Catherine drew near, her stylish heels echoing decisively against the marble floor. Eleanor and Patricia stood beside her, their faces set in rehearsed smiles that failed to illuminate their eyes. "Miss Sullivan," Catherine began, her voice dripping with sweetness. "What a truly delightful surprise. Had we been aware of the significant work your foundation is doing—" "But you didn't need to know," Emma interjected softly. "That's precisely the essence, wouldn't you agree?" Catherine hesitated, her facade showing its first unmistakable flaw. "It seems that a misunderstanding has occurred." "There was no room for confusion," Emma responded, her voice warm yet straightforward. "You perceived what you anticipated. A woman whose value you gauged by her attire and associations instead of her true essence." Eleanor advanced, her diamond earrings glinting in the light. "We intended no disrespect. These occasions come with specific expectations and standards." "Indeed," Emma concurred, "and this evening has undeniably shed light on the essence of those standards." Patricia, feeling the weight of the conversation, sought to shift the direction. "Emma, your foundation is truly intriguing. Is it all right if I call you Emma? Would you be open to discussing your participation in our annual fundraiser luncheon next month?" "Who would benefit from the exposure?" Emma inquired softly. The inquiry lingered, its significance clear and undeniable. Director Thornton stepped forward, interrupting the charged atmosphere. "Miss Sullivan, the mayor wishes to extend his heartfelt gratitude for your remarkable contribution." Emma acknowledged with a graceful nod. "Absolutely." As she pivoted to pursue the director, she hesitated, casting a glance back at the trio of women. "The children's wing is set to open in 6 months. When that moment arrives, I hope you'll come, not for a photo opportunity, but to connect with the children whose lives will be changed. You may find their viewpoints quite unexpected." Abandoned, Catherine's meticulously crafted facade shattered even more. "Did that really just occur?" she confided in her friends with a soft voice. 25 million, Eleanor whispered, the figure suspended in the air like a damning verdict. "And we regarded her as if she had just stumbled in from the outside world." Patricia's eyes trailed after Emma as she walked away. "Who is she really beneath the surface?" Catherine retrieved her phone, her fingers quivering just a bit as she began to type. Her eyes grew large as the results filled her screen. "The fortune of Sullivan Technology," she exhaled. Her parents were Robert and Margaret Sullivan, the innovators who transformed the field of medical imaging. A decade has passed since they perished in a plane crash. She received it all. "What is the total cost of everything?" Eleanor insisted. Catherine cast her gaze across the room. Emma positioned herself alongside the mayor and the members of the hospital board. The unassuming beige dress, now the most striking presence in the room, not due to its style or price, but because of the woman who adorns it. A woman with the ability to surpass all, yet opted for empathy instead of showiness, depth rather than display. The real recipients of the evening's generosity were not present in the ballroom. but rather in hospital beds scattered throughout the city. Their futures are now illuminated, thanks to someone who could have focused solely on her own desires, but instead chose to dedicate her life to the well-being of others. As the evening unfolded, Emma discovered herself briefly in solitude, examining the depiction of Sophie's butterfly sanctuary. The garden's design thoughtfully incorporated features for hospital beds and wheelchairs, ensuring that even the most critically ill children could immerse themselves in the restorative embrace of nature. "It's beautiful," came a voice, Catherine's, her tone now devoid of its previous condescension. Emma pivoted. Catherine paused, then spoke with a surprising depth of feeling. "Why didn't you speak up when I was? Would it have made a difference?" Emma inquired. "Does it really hold significance?" Catherine paused, facing inquiries that had never before breached the walls of her meticulously crafted existence. "My value, anyone's value, isn't determined by their financial status or lineage," Emma continued softly. "The kids I met with this morning have no interest in brand names or social status. They value compassion, seeking recognition for their true selves rather than for their possessions or appearance." Catherine confessed, a hint of surprise in her voice as she realized she had never thought of it that way. "Not many realize it until circumstances compel them to," Emma responded. She waved her hand toward the hospital illustration. "Every child who enters this space is entitled to the same dignity and respect, no matter their situation. Every individual present here is entitled to the same, irrespective of their attire or background." Catherine's meticulously applied makeup failed to conceal the flush rising along her neck. "I acted in a truly disgraceful manner." "Indeed," Emma concurred without hesitation. "The inquiry is, how will you respond to that understanding?" Just as Catherine was about to reply, Director Thornton commanded everyone's attention. Silence enveloped the space as he readied himself to reveal the donor wall. "The names of those who contributed will be etched in a lasting tribute, with Emma's shining at the pinnacle. Esteemed guests, it is with deep appreciation that we acknowledge the kindness of those whose support will bring our new children's wing to fruition. These names signify more than mere financial support. They embody a commitment to the future of our community." When the velvet drape was lifted, a wave of astonished breaths swept across the audience. Instead of Emma Sullivan's name gracing the top of the donor wall, there was merely a simple inscription. "In tribute to Sophie and every child facing challenges far beyond their age, your bravery fuels our dedication." Director Thornton cast his gaze toward Emma, who responded with a subtle nod. "Ms. Sullivan has asked for her contribution to be kept anonymous on our permanent installation," he explained, his voice heavy with feeling. "Her conviction is that the primary emphasis ought to stay on the children we support." The ballroom was enveloped in silence as the weight of her decision settled over the crowd. Emma had turned down the very acknowledgement that many in this room desired more than anything. Her $25 million donation would always be linked not to her identity, but to the children it aims to support. It was arguably the most impactful declaration she could have uttered, a defiance of the very structure that had caused Catherine and her companions to overlook her initially. Catherine faced Emma, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. For the first time that evening, perhaps for the first time in years, she spoke without calculation or pretense. "You've shown me something tonight I desperately needed to see," she whispered. "Thank you." Emma's smile was genuine. "We all need reminding sometimes that our true worth isn't in what we have, but in what we give." As conversations resumed around them, Emma slipped quietly toward the exit. Her purpose for the evening had been accomplished, not just the donation, but perhaps something equally valuable, a seed of transformation planted in unexpected soil. 6 months later, sunshine spilled through the windows of Sophie's butterfly haven, as Emma guided a wheelchair-bound little girl toward a monarch butterfly resting on a purple cone flower. "See how the wings open and close?" Emma pointed. "They're drying in the sun, gathering strength for flight." Sophie's delicate fingers reached out, not quite touching. She whispered, "Just like I do. I'm also building my resilience." Emma gently squeezed the shoulder of the 8-year-old. "Precisely as you are." The garden surpassed Emma's imagination, a refuge where restoration went beyond mere medicine. Vibrant blooms selected with the intention of luring butterflies painted vivid splashes against the rich backdrop of foliage. Meandering pathways traversed the area, guaranteeing that every child, no matter their mobility challenges, could immerse themselves in its marvels. Miss Sullivan summoned a nurse from the threshold. The dedication ceremony is set to commence in 10 minutes. Emma gave a slight nod. Are you prepared for your grand debut, butterfly girl? Sophie beamed, the space where her front teeth once resided enhancing her allure. I was born ready, she responded, echoing the words her doctors had said before the treatments. As Emma pushed Sophie toward the main atrium of the new hospital wing, a strange sense of satisfaction washed over her. Not from the structure itself, remarkable as it was with its cutting-edge technology and focus on children, but from the lives it would change. The atrium hummed with energy. Staff from the hospital, patients along with their families, media representatives, and significant donors came together for the grand opening ceremony. Emma noticed Dr. Harris conversing with the hospital board by the podium, while Catherine Winters was busy organizing children from the oncology ward into a small choir. Catherine glanced upward, locking eyes with Emma. Her smile radiated authenticity as she made her way across the room. Sophie, our shining vocalist, has made her entrance, effortlessly kneeling to meet the child's gaze with warmth and grace. The condescension that had once tainted her interactions was no longer present. In its stead was genuine warmth. In the last 6 months, Catherine experienced a change as striking as the structure surrounding them. What started as a feeling of shame transformed into authentic introspection and, in the end, led to decisive steps forward. She had stepped away from 3 social committees to dedicate her time to the hospital's patient support programs, engaging directly with families as they navigated the daunting terrain of childhood illness. The children are absolutely thrilled, Catherine informed Emma, standing up with enthusiasm. Emma nodded, acknowledging that they had been rehearsing their song for weeks. It resonates with beauty. Mozart would certainly give his nod of approval. Catherine reminded her that it was her idea to have them perform. You mentioned that their voices ought to be the initial ones to resonate in this space. You were correct. Director Thornton strode forward, clipboard firmly grasped in hand. We are prepared to start. Miss Sullivan, could you and Sophie please position yourselves by the ribbon? The ceremony progressed with an elegant restraint. Speeches were refreshingly concise, centering on the children who would gain from the efforts rather than the adults who had played a role. As Sophie and 3 fellow young patients joined forces to cut the ribbon, their expressions shone with a sense of significance. The atmosphere in the atrium was thick with emotion. Later, while the guests explored the new facility, Emma discovered she was alone with Catherine by Sophie's butterfly haven. Catherine said, her gaze following the butterflies as they danced among the flowers, I owe you an apology. Not merely for that evening, but for an entire lifetime spent evaluating individuals through misguided standards. Emma dismissed the thought with a shake of her head. You've expressed your regrets plenty of times. Your deeds over the last few months resonate more profoundly than any words ever could. Catherine offered a wry smile. Eleanor and Patricia believe I've completely lost my sanity. Devoting my time to caring for ill children rather than organizing charity luncheons is utterly outrageous. And what are your thoughts on that? Emma inquired. I believe I spent the majority of my life in slumber, Catherine responded with a straightforward tone. Forming opinions based on looks, amassing relationships rather than fostering understanding. She waved her hand toward the children wandering through the garden. They've imparted lessons on life that surpass anything I learned in 5 decades within Boston society. Emma gave a slight nod. They possess a talent for distilling existence to its core elements. Catherine confessed that her husband doesn't fully grasp the situation. He offers his support, yet struggles to understand the changes in me. Yesterday, he inquired about my return to the country club committee. So, what did you say to him? Catherine chuckled softly. I'm currently occupied with organizing the hospital's new sibling support program. The expression on his face was utterly invaluable. Their dialogue came to a halt as Sophie maneuvered her wheelchair toward a freshly arrived butterfly resting on a feeding station. Catherine said softly, "What she doesn't realize is that her mother juggles 2 jobs to afford treatments that insurance won't pay for. I have created a foundation to support families similar to hers." The documentation was completed yesterday. Emma's eyebrows lifted in authentic astonishment. "Catherine, that's absolutely delightful." "It's just the start," Catherine replied. "You revealed that prosperity carries with it a duty, rather than merely an advantage. While I may not be able to contribute 25 million, I can still create an impact in my own unique manner." Emma beamed. "That's all any of us are capable of doing." They observed Sophie gently inviting a butterfly to rest on her finger, her expression glowing with amazement. Catherine spoke once more, her tone contemplative. "That evening at the gala, it wasn't truly about the wealth, was it? Your perspective, I mean." Emma nodded in understanding. "It was about looking deeper, understanding that genuine value isn't shown through attire, wealth, or societal position." Catherine spoke softly. "I formed my opinion based on your attire." "And now?" Emma inquired. Catherine's eyes moved from Sophie to Emma and then back again. "I strive to perceive individuals for who they truly are, rather than how they seem. It's more challenging than it appears." Emma responded that the most significant changes tend to be the most meaningful. A nurse came over, informing them that the children's choir was gathering for their concluding performance. Catherine halted as they made their way back to the atrium. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for the lesson I required and for the chance to grow into a better version of myself." Emma grasped her hand for a moment. "We are all evolving, Catherine. The butterfly begins its journey without wings." United, they entered the sun-drenched atrium, where the melodies of children quickly enveloped the area, a harmonious expression of hope emerging from those who grasped, more than many, the invaluable essence of each moment and the profound significance of change. It seems we often form opinions based on how things look. Wouldn't you agree? Yet, as Catherine discovered, delving deeper uncovers the genuine value of the people in our lives. If this tale resonated with you, we invite you to click that subscribe button and become part of our community. We'd love to hear from you. Please share in the comments where you're tuning in from, or recount a moment when you or someone you know faced misjudgment based on looks. Keep in mind that our worth isn't determined by what we own or our status, but rather by our integrity and the impact we have on the lives of others. Join us next time for another tale that highlights the profound lessons life has to offer. Ultimately, the most profound changes frequently start with a subtle change in viewpoint.